So at that point, when this came to a head in 1982, I was in my 30s, I had 2 young children, and I have to tell you that I craved security like an addict, almost. So my plan B was to get a lectureship. And one came along that I thought was just the thing for me. In fact, I'd been invited to apply. And I did. And I thought this would just be a breeze to get it, compared to getting anything like further funding from the MRC. But I failed to get it. Clearly, I did not do well in the interview, and I wasn't even aware of this. I was so sure I would get an offer, and the only thing I wasn't sure about is whether I would accept it. I thought the decision was all mine. So, how naive. I have to say, my self-confidence was knocked down several pegs. Now, luckily, the MRC funded another unit with a new director. And he too retired eventually in 1997, I think, or 96. And I never tried again to get a lectureship. I just struggled along with program grants after he retired. There was no more unit. That was when the MRC really didn't invest in developmental psychology anymore. But it was very strange whenever I applied and got this usual feedback about this could be better and this is too much money and why do you do this? The usual reviewers' criticism. So I have to say, I always felt it was touch and go. It was so strange. I'd never had that sense of security, and I was still craving it until the end, I think. Now, what do you think the lesson is from this that I took? What would I recommend my students? Maybe some of you think I would recommend and say, don't worry, just go and, somehow it'll work out, maybe. You might get grants anyway, and, maybe you worried unnecessarily. Actually, I have always recommended my students to get as secure a job as possible. And even in a place they might not consider their first choice. And I want to talk to you about 2 more sort of overarching ideas that have to do with hidden failures. The first idea is about imposter syndrome. Actually, I'm surprised that you haven't heard about this already, but I'm sure you all know about it. So I once thought it was only me. That was a long time ago when people had not ever voiced this or given it a name. But again, I was naive enough to believe that perhaps that really applied, being an imposter applied just to me. Everybody else was not an imposter. And I now take it absolutely for granted that everybody who's ever had success in their career must have felt it. It took me a long time to realize this. So in the research unit that I joined after my PhD in this incredibly amazing, lucky way, I absolutely thought I was the only one who was not really meant to be there, and I would be found out one day, and I would be seen as the sort of person who reached above her station, and it was all a lot to do also with my coming from a different country, from Germany, and trying to adapt to English culture, English language. And I was so very aware that much of my grasp of the culture and the language was so very superficial. Now, I was middle-aged when I actually confessed these imposter thoughts to a person I highly respected and who I thought might long have spotted my obvious weaknesses. And it was actually talking to him about my shortcomings that it dawned on me that this sort of self-doubt is absolutely perfectly normal and maybe even a good